this is Mina from Darkstar Astrology, bringing you the full moon in December. And this one is really the solstice new moon as well. It's going to take place on, it says 22nd here. Yes, it is in New York. And but the solstice is on the 21st, obviously. So this one, I think this is quite a special new moon because it's the one before Christmas, is the winter solstice. And so it's also one that's really powerful because it's in Cancer, but it's only just in Cancer. It's at 0 degrees of Cancer. So it's extremely fortunate and powerful. So anyone touched by this full moon is going to do very well in any role where they can play the parent or carer at this festive time. Indeed, the nurturing the nurturing energy is so strong at this time that it could feed an army. The great thing about this position is that the moon will never exceed what it's willing to give as well. At this time, we learn very quickly that we are no good to anyone if we burn ourselves out. And this also means that there's none of the martyr syndrome, resentment vibe that happens sometimes when there's an overly lunar energy. The position is very fertile and it has the feel of that spongy turf that grows around a lake and the water lilies that sit upon it. So we're drawn to healing mud at this full moon and it has that in abundance. Moon in Cancer, Decan 1, inspires fantastic cooks and serves health therapists very well, especially those in the realm of nutrition and massage. The ambience at this full moon is gentle and compromising. Those touched by it will want to treat their loved ones like royalty. So it's a great period for doing things like pampering yourself and indulge in homemade treats. So this is just perfect for Christmas. I think I've seen some other comments about this new moon, and everyone seems to agree that it's going to be a nice one for Christmas. So hooray! But I bet I can find something to talk about it. And yes, well, okay, I have, because the fixed star is Betelgeuse, which is, well, Betelgeuse is actually at the end of Gemini. It's at 29 Gemini, but it is the closest star to this full moon. Now, Betelgeuse, the meaning for it is active mind, with the moon, by the way, as well. Active mind, strong will, turbulent, rebellious under restraint, military success but suffering through quarrels with superiors, likelihood of great power, honour and wealth, and with the moon as a lunar mansion, here at birth the native will be insincere, proud, ungrateful, cruel, sinful, deceitful and wicked. Okay, so you got some shadow there. But there is a positive side as well. And Bernadette Brady says it represents the use of power to improve the quality of life of the common people. Concern for one's immediate environment and domain, which is very true for this full moon, as we will talk about later on. I have a rant that I'm going to go on about. In extreme cases, members of this is so appropriate for what I want to talk about. In extreme cases, members of one's tribe are sacrificed to ensure the continued dominance of one's genetic family. Survival of the fittest. I don't know about that one, but there's a certain kind of scapegoat energy about it. So Orion, where Betelgeuse is probably one of the easiest constellations to recognise in the sky, with the 3 stars in a row for Orion's belt, and then you get the sapphire blue Rigel star at the foot of Orion, but Betelgeuse is the red one at the top. Now this constellation has really fascinated sky watchers for millennia, and for the Egyptians, Orion was Osiris, the greatest god of them all. So the Greeks rather downgraded him to the arrogant stalker of his huntress counterpart Artemis. Now, legend has it that the virgin goddess of the hunt grew annoyed at Orion's constant boasting that he could hunt down and dominate any animal on Earth. So she decided to bring him down a peg or two and sent a scorpion to sting his foot, which made him blind. But the star Betelgeuse seems to have escaped most of the ill fortune suggested by the mythology of the actual constellation. Betelgeuse is found in the striking arm of the hunter, where he holds a huge phallic club that you really wouldn't want to argue with. At a 0.5 magnitude, it's really bright in the sky, giant, red and aggressive. It does give worldly power, great strength and success. But others give Betelgeuse more of a military emphasis, and in doing so add violent and explosive tendencies. So they say things like war and carnage are presaged by Betelgeuse. The star is indicative of great fortune, martial honours and kingly attributes. For the lunar mansion, they say it's a sharp asterism belonging to the butcher caste and favourable for punishment, torture, imprisonment, exorcism, mesmerism, separation or union when containing the moon. Now, the moon was actually on Betelgeuse when the first tower was struck on 9/11, so we can see that there is a explosive trait there. So, you know, let's just hope there aren't any Christmas explosions this year or anything like that. I don't think so. I think the rest of the astrology seems to be okay. So let's just keep our fingers crossed and just hope there won't be any sort of terroristic type activity. I do wonder though, because the press, the mainstream media always like to use Christmas as a time to start scaremongering. So I don't know. I don't know whether there's going to be false flag, fake terrorism stuff going on. Let's just hope it won't be, or we don't fall for it. So the first face of Cancer, this is the Picatrix description, and the artwork that I use now is by J Swofford, and he illustrates his first face of Cancer, and it's described in the Picatrix as being a man whose fingers and head are distorted and slanted, and his body is similar to a horse's body. His feet are white, he has fig leaves on his body, and this is a face of instruction, love, subtlety and mastery. Actually, sorry, I didn't actually use his illustration for this first face of Cancer for this post, because I thought, you know, it's Christmas. So I didn't want to use such a kind of downbeat illustration, shall we say. So I used his one called Red Spirit, because I think that just goes so well with Betelgeuse, and he looks a bit like Father Christmas as well. So the picture I'm using is actually Red Spirit. So the tarot card to look at as well that's associated with this decan is the Two of Cups, and this is obviously a really nice card, very positive and associated with relationships. The deep emotional, intimate and loving side of Cancer plays out really strongly with this card. And karmically, although this decan does have a rabid side, when these folks settle down into a healthy union, there is a strong spiritual connection between the couple in the Two of Cups. So looking at them, we can't help but feel that they have found their soulmate in each other. The couple holds their cups at equal height, symbolising equality and acceptance within the relationship, and the maturity that exists between the couple allows both partners to maintain their own independence, friends, hobbies, etc. outside the relationship without jealousy or possessiveness settling in. Now, that was a quote from Teach Me Tarot. And with the twins being so active in this decan, we can see the potential of finding a twin flame in the current period, thanks to the influence of this card. So again, you know, that's a nice kind of relationshipy, lovey-dovey influence that we can have with this full moon. And of course, you know, full moons are quite romantic as well. So the moon in sextile to Uranus brings an abundance of radical and innovative energy through an individual into the public eye. So there may be someone who stands out as being quite Uranian at this time. These are the world's self-assured rebels who don't give a fig about conforming to the status quo. The soft aspect brings to fruition personal freedom, revolution and electric genius that has been refined over many lifetimes. The more outlandish the person behaves, the more the public seem to lap it up. The sextile is supposedly a harmonious energy, but we still get some challenges in this aspect. Having such strong courage of one's convictions will often provoke criticism, fear, and even envy from the conformists. Often this aspect's critics are the very people who would love to lead a more honest lifestyle, but are far too constrained by the fear of being rejected by their fashion-conscious peers. And this is also, very much about social conformity and conforming to social media pressures, really. Because I think that's what's the new... this is what's keeping people in check. And fear of being banned as well from certain social media platforms. Anyway, I won't go into that. I don't think this is the post for talking about that. But so the summary: everything about this full moon is beautiful, and its nurturing energy is just perfect for the Christmas season. It's also just fabulous for all the festive indulgences and the home cooking that goes on at this time of year. But watch out for the scapegoating of Betelgeuse, as Brady has said that in extreme cases, members of one's tribe are sacrifices, I said earlier, to ensure the continued dominance of one's genetic family. In our personal lives, we can see that this tendency could flare up after one or too many glasses of the Christmas spirit. Grumpy relatives who haven't seen each other for a year could use this time to vent their spleen. But the good thing is though, they won't really be able to ruin anything, as the vibes are just far too loving generally. Any grandiose, super narcissistic behaviour could have Gaia unleash her Scorpio sting, and the offending guest may well get sent limping home as the universe dishes out its divine punishment. That leaves the rest of the family to enjoy the fuzzy, warm love that can now flourish once the toxic drama king or queen has been removed. Betelgeuse is the archetype of the divine masculine, however, and the positive side could be Papa Santa Claus bringing joy himself. A wise old granddad calms things down, uniting the family against jealousy and disruption. Yes, there is a chance of explosions, but hopefully there will be nothing more than champagne corks popping or fireworks at New Year. Generally, this is a very, very cosy full moon and best enjoyed in the bosom of the family. However, if your biological family do happen to be nothing but a bunch of narcissists, then don't waste your time making a purse out of a sow's ear. Seek out your spiritual family instead. Genuine love is embraced with open arms, as seen in the heartwarming Two of Cups card. So happy Yule for you all. So I'm going to dedicate this video to my grandmother, my nonna in Sicily, who is 97 years old. And just before last weekend, I was actually in Sicily unexpectedly, because she took a turn for the worst and we thought she was dying. So I went there and it was amazing. It was amazing to be in the family again, because I hadn't actually been there for 10 years. I have a lot of my aunties live here now anyway, so half the family is here anyway, and so I see them that way. But my nonna doesn't travel anymore, so I haven't seen her. I hadn't seen her for a long time. She's got her 5 children. My dad's not alive anymore, but the other 5 are, and they're all there. They're on a vigil around her bed, and to be a part of that when I was there was just wonderful. I went with my cousin. So there's that, but it made me very sad for other reasons as well, because, as you know, I'm not a big fan of the globalist agenda and what they're trying to do to Europe. And I never thought they would, I didn't think it would hit Sicily. I know Sicily's been the kind of, the jump off point for a lot of boats. And now that they're being turned away from Sicily anyway, because of the new right-leaning government there, and now they're going to Spain. But but 2 years ago, obviously there's a lot have come in, and my uncle said, he said, oh, the next village, Zutera, they've taken in 200 refugees. And I went, wow, 200? I mean, this is a tiny village. It's about population, probably about the same as mine, about 1,000, 1,500. So 200's a lot. And it absolutely upset me so badly. I know part of it was because my grandma was dying, but it was also talking about how Sicily is dying, and this was a dying village, so they needed to take in a new people because the schools were shutting down. Actually, the school in my village has shut down now, and they have to go to school in the next village. But it was an article in The Guardian, and it was, because I looked it up, I thought, Zutera, refugees, let's see. And these refugees are from Nigeria and Sri Lanka, which is quite far. So yeah, it's not the first port of call, so I thought it was kind of interesting. But this village is so typically Sicilian. It's untrue. It's the most picturesque. It's, out of all the villages, including my own, it's the most lovely one. And when I went to Zutera for the first time, it's about a 10-minute drive away, I just thought, oh, this is a picture postcard Sicilian village. They used it in the film The Sicilian as well, with Christopher Lambert. Honestly, it's typically Sicilian. So I just thought, why there? Like, you could, I know this sounds really, I know I'm doing this video on, in the season of goodwill to all men, right? But why Zutera? Because I think if you're going to bring in people on a humanitarian, on humanitarian grounds, then they would do much better in a bigger town. I mean, this is a small village. You expect that in Palermo. You've got like lots of different communities there, and bigger towns. But Zutera. So that's why I thought this seems to be a little bit suspicious. And what they said in the article was, it was dying because of emigration, because there's no work there, and this is what happened to my own village. My dad, and in the 60s, a lot of Sicilians went to America and to Northern Europe to work in the factories because there was no work, unless you're a farmer. So, so half my family stayed, half went to England, but a lot of them have come back now. So what happens to these villages? Yes, they lose their population to go and get work from in other places in Europe, but they do end up coming back and retiring there. So yeah, all right, it does end up being an aging population and it's a retirement home, but does it really need to have a population replaced? And then what jobs are these people going to do? Because if there's no jobs for the Sicilians, and that's why they've left the village, why would there be work there for these refugees? And at the moment it's fine, because it's men and women with very young children. But what when these children grow up? Because I know these villages, they are very territorial. And when boys from other villages used to come to our village and try and go with the girls of their village, there will be fights, because it's like, you don't touch our girls. These are our girls. You don't. It was like that. So I don't know what's going to happen when these kids who are now about, like, they're teaching, like my uncle said, they're teaching them Italian in our schools. Now they're teaching them Italian. That's another thing. These villages all have separate dialects. Italian is a kind of uniform language that everyone speaks, but not in the villages. Not even I'm lost there because I only speak Italian. I don't speak the dialect, and you can only speak dialect if you've grown up there. And in the schools they teach Italian. So again, these refugees, these 200 people, they'll be learning Italian. They'll never learn the dialect, or maybe they will. I don't know, but it's going to be very odd. It's going to be very odd. And another thing about this village is they do this lovely live nativity every Christmas. Like, they actually have people dressed up as the nativity, and then they do like a festa with they bake bread and do all sort of home cooking and local dishes and things like that. and you pay €5 to go in there, and it's just lovely. But how long is that tradition going to go on when such a huge percentage now of that village is going to be from somewhere else? So yeah, that made me sad. Of course, I was mourning my grandmother as well, because I don't think I'll ever see her again. You know, I don't think she's going to last very long, but I'm glad I had said my goodbyes. But yeah, so dying, you know, the sun is at its lowest, it's dying at the moment, and we do get resurrection for this full moon. So I hope that there is some sort of good news at this time. At the moment, I don't feel that positive, but that's probably just my state of mind. But it's always darkest before dawn. So sorry if this has taken on quite a dark tone again. Okay, just before I go on to the healing crystal, I just want to add to this and say, you know, just in case there are some people who think, oh my God, she's being super, the R word, super racist against these people. Just think of this. I know, obviously, I'm very territorial and tribal about my own hometown. But I've been reading, because I was thinking, oh, I want to go to Mallorca next year on holiday. And I've got some guidebooks. And it always strikes me in these guidebooks, whenever they're very disparaging about areas that have been taken over by the Brits in Spain. And yeah, with good reason. But it's perfectly fine to sort of say, oh, you know, it's lost its Spanish, its genuine Spanish feel. Yeah, and I don't like it. But when you try and talk about it from another point of view, that's kind of cultural enrichment. But if it's done by the Brits, oh no, that's awful, that's tacky, and you know, it's really bad. So just think of it like that. I think of it as an invasion of and a cultural, what's the word? It's cultural desecration. The British do it with certain holiday resorts in Spain, but they keep to those areas, and they're usually very touristy areas. This is what I don't get about this Sutera thing. Sutera is like, it's like, you know, one of those typical Spanish villages you find in the internal area of Spain. And if that gets taken over by a bunch of Germans, people don't like it, and quite rightly. So you know, so yeah, so that's why I'm getting my head in a tizzy over it, because it just seems really blatantly an attack on typical Sicilian culture. And yeah, they're not Sicilian, sorry. You know, British who go and live in Spain will never be Spanish. And same goes for Nigerians who go and live in Sicily. All right. Okay. So let's look at the crystal healing now, shall we? The crystal healing for this new moon, I think I need to grab one. Yeah, here's my red Jasper. Red or poppy Jasper. And I picked the poppy one because I think that's such a pretty stone, but it's quite rare to get hold of. So I picked these stones because they resonate so well with the energy of this full moon. Red Jasper is actually associated with Gaia, who is featured in the Betelgeuse myth. Red Jasper is a stone of passion. It's a token of all who consummate love. Emotional healing with Red Jasper gives men and women quiet strength to resist bullying or domestic violence. Protective also against psychic attack, or if working with psychologically disturbed people. So this stone is great for dragon slaying and gives courage. It's also a great warming crystal for those cold winter nights. Now I chose poppy Jasper because of its association with remembrance and peace. Poppy Jasper makes a good reconciliation gift as well, so you can pop it in someone's stocking. Red Jasper attunes to the frequency of fairness and often offers assistance to anyone trying to rectify an unjust situation. Meditating with this stone provides insight into the best way to accomplish this. It also helps bring future problems to light before they become too big. Red Jasper's energy communicates the message that all choice is singularly one's responsibility and inspires one not to revisit old patterns, but to move forward in all things. And that's a quote from Crystal Vaults. The first one, by the way, was from the Crystal Bible, the New Crystal Bible by Cassandra Easton. Now, Poppy Jasper is also known as the Supreme Nurturer, which I thought went very well with this full moon. And it works to provide you with centering, grounding, and stabilizing energies. And a lot of people use Poppy Jasper to have a sense of security and comfort, and to increase one's feelings of peace, serenity, and wholeness. So that brings me to the end. So that's the last moon for the year, the last moon of 2018. So this is kind of a bit of a Christmas message then. I'm going to see if I can do one in front of my tree. I just need to get a little microphone that attaches here and do a kind of Christmas message like the Queen in England does with some champagne. So I might do that. But until then, I'm wishing you a fantastic Yule time. Find your spiritual family if your family is as messed up as mine. I'm going to spend some of it with my cousins, so my Sicilian side, and I hope you find yours too, because I know there's a lot of my viewers have got the same diverse family. Anyway, all right then. Well, all the very best, and see you next time. Bye bye.